In our second example, we were only given the equation of the ellipse and it is not given to us in standard form. And so the first thing we're going to have to do is put it in standard form. And to do that, we will need to complete the square on both x and y. And we have to complete the square on both variables because in the standard form for an ellipse, both the x and the y are squared. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to rearrange the terms so that the x's are next to each other and the y's are next to each other, and any constants are on the other side of the equation by themselves. So I have 4x squared. The other x term of a negative 8x, I'm going to write right next to that. Then we have a positive y squared and a 4y term that are right next to that. And then this 4 I will move to the other side of the equation. And so all of this is equal to negative 4. In order to complete the square on a variable, we need that the leading coefficient in that variable is 1. That's already happening for the y term. The number in front of y squared is 1, so that's good. But for the x term, the number in front of x squared is 4, and so we will need to first factor that out. So I'm going to factor a 4 out from my x's, and only from my x's. That leaves me with x squared minus 2x. And I will leave a blank space right here because we will add something in. I don't have to worry about the y's because the number in front of y squared was already 1. And we're going to leave a blank space right there as well, because we will add something in for our y terms. To determine the number that we add in for the x's, we take negative 2, that's the number in front of x, we divide it by 2, and then we square it. Negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1, and negative 1 squared is a positive 1, and so we add 1 there. When I put that plus 1 there, I'm really adding 4 to the left side of the equation, since the 1 is in parentheses with a 4 out in front of it. And so I also need to add 4 to the right side of the equation to account for that. Now to fill in the blank for the y variable, I take the number in front of y, which is a 4, I divide that by 2, and I square it. 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 2 squared is 4. And so we add 4 in that blank. When I add 4 to that blank, I'm really adding 4 to the left side of the equation, and so we need to add another 4 to account for that. Now that we have added those numbers in, we are able to factor in both variables. X squared minus 2x plus 1 factors into x minus 1 squared. Y squared plus 4y plus 4 factors into y plus 2 squared. On the right hand side, these 4's cancel and just leave us with a 4. The last thing missing for us to be in standard form is that standard form has a 1 on the right hand side of the equation. So I will go through and divide everything by 4 to give me the 1 on the right hand side. When I divide the first term on the left by 4, it cancels with the coefficient of 4 in the front and just leaves me with x minus 1 squared. The denominator of that is just a 1. We don't have to write it, but it's helpful to see it. Plus y plus 2 squared divided by 4, and this is all equal to 1. Now that we have the equation in standard form, we are able to see what our a is, what our a squared is, what our b squared is, and we can also see h and we can see k. H is equal to a positive 1, since that is what is being subtracted from x right here. K is equal to a negative 2, since that is what is being subtracted from y here. We change those signs when we pull h and k out. Little a squared is the larger of the two denominators. That is between 1 and 4. So our little a squared must be equal to 4, which tells us that our little a is equal to 2. Little b squared is the smaller of the two denominators, which is 1. And so our little b must be equal to 1. We'll go ahead and find our little c using the equation that c squared is equal to a squared minus b squared. So c squared is equal to 4 minus 1, which is equal to 3. And so C is equal to the square root of 3. So now we have some information. We are able to start sketching our ellipse and finding its vertices and its foci. I'm going to go by 1s on both my x and my y-axis. The center of the ellipse is at HK, which in this case is equal to 1, -2. So I'll plot our center right here at 1, -2. The vertices of this ellipse are going to be A units above and below the center. So when I move A units above the center, A is equal to 2. We have one vertex right here at the point 1, 0. And when we move A units, so 2 units below the center, we have another vertex down here at the point 1, -4. The foci are going to be C units above and below the center. So moving up, the square root of 3 units puts us about right here at the point 1, -2 plus the square root of 3. And then moving the square root of 3 units below the center puts us about right there at the point 1, -2 minus the square root of 3. You can put those y coordinates in your calculator to get a decimal approximation to see that they are rather close to the 2 vertices. And then to figure out the 2 points to the right and the left of the center, I'm going to look at my B value. My B value is 1, which tells me I need to move 1 unit to the left of the center and 1 unit to the right of the center. And then I will connect these 4 points to see that my ellipse looks like that.